This is my 16th CAS reflection video, and in it I will be reflecting upon my experience with the Summer of Success program and how I, 1, increased awareness of my strengths and areas for growth, 2, took on new challenges, 3, planned and initiated activities, 4, worked collaboratively with others, and 5, developed new skills. Summer of Success is sort of a transition camp for incoming freshmen to kind of cope and get to know the high school environment and get a firm grasp on what it's like to be a high school student. And I acted as a group leader, being a current high school student. I kind of showed them the way around the school. I stressed the important aspects of high school to them and did everything that I could to smoothen their transition from middle school to high school. So, transition camp absolutely increased my awareness of strengths and weaknesses. My strengths include acting as a successful leader, conveying a message with a positive attitude. In other words, taking a relatively boring concept and kind of spicing it up and making it a bit more exciting with my own personality. And it also showed me that I am fairly easy to work with. Not fairly, that I am very easy to work with as far as the other volunteers were concerned. I would say that my largest area for growth would be to experiment with different ways in which to convey certain messages. Summer of Success was a total of 4 weeks, and each week we had a different group of students. And each week we didn't necessarily do the same activities, but I conveyed my message the same way each week. And it obviously worked because it was all of the weeks of the camp were extremely successful. However, I think that I should have taken it upon myself to kind of add a few twists here and there to kind of liven things up and see what works best and what doesn't. So it kind of stressed to me the importance of experimentation and what I can do as a leader to really take advantage of my resources. I took on new challenges by kind of leading a group of reluctant 8th graders throughout an entire week. Each group was about 20 to 30 students, and there were a ton of groups. So, sorry, there's like this bug bite on my shoulder and it really itches. So I, as a group leader, worked with 20 to 30 individuals. And then, with the help of the other volunteers, I worked with a total of about 120 students. So it was a very large group of 8th graders to work with. So that in and of itself, and just the vast quantity of students there, was absolutely a challenge. I planned and initiated activities throughout each and every week, actually. What each group did was entirely dependent upon that particular group's group leader. There were specific instructions as to what each activity should try to convey. However, the way in which each group chose to obtain those concepts was entirely dependent upon the group leader. So whenever we were emphasizing teamwork, some groups did scavenger hunts, some groups did other games. I personally kind of developed this game in which all of the group members took a string that was attached to this plastic ring in the center, and there was a tennis ball in the center. And the object of the game was to move the tennis ball from one side of the gym to the other while kind of maneuvering in between obstacles. So they had to ensure that all of them were pulling on the string with the same amount of force at the same time at the correct position and all that good stuff. So I showed them how to work collaboratively with others, which begins to feed into my fourth learning outcome. And I also chose to participate in the game a few times, so that also reiterated how important it was for me as a volunteer to work collaboratively with the students themselves. I also worked collaboratively with the other volunteers by kind of touching base with them every morning before we started the day's events to see what they had planned for the week, and what I had planned, kind of compared and contrasts ideas, bounced ideas off of each other, just to ensure that every group was obtaining the same amount of information. And I absolutely developed new skills. I developed new skills as a student leader. I developed new skills as a high school student because it kind of I actually learned a lot about our school through running this program as well. I learned quite a few bits of information that I was not entirely aware of prior to my experience with this. And I also developed the ability to exhibit extreme amounts of sympathy. I guess being a junior, it's been a while since I've experienced this type of a feeling. However, working with these 8th graders really reiterated to me how scary of a concept going into high school actually is. So it really gave me the opportunity to kind of put myself in their shoes and think again about how nervous and scared I was on the first day of high school my freshman year, not knowing what to expect, going from a school of, I don't even know how many students Murchison has, surely not as many as Anderson has. So going from a middle school to a school with 2,400 students. It's a big change. At Murchison, you kind of travel around with the same people, whereas Anderson, you see different faces in every class. So I definitely developed the ability to express elements of sympathy with the reluctant 8th graders. So overall, it was a very rewarding experience to kind of share my quote-unquote words of wisdom to the incoming freshmen. And I also had just as much fun leading this group of 8th graders as they themselves, as participants in the camps, had as well.